Y'all, some things we just shouldn't tell or ask pregnant women. Today, I'm sharing my top 5. So go ahead and tune in if you're interested in hearing. My name's Leslie. I am a Christian wife, mother, and childbirth doula. This is where I share all things birth, faith, and family. Today, I want to share with you guys 5 things that, in my own experience, just best not to share with pregnant women. So let's dive right in. Number 1, I would say, would be negative birth stories. In like a off the cuff kind of way, people sometimes say like, oh, that's the worst pain ever. It's like, oh, that's the reason us moms forget about that pain. Get ready to have to take all the meds because that's the most excruciating pain I've ever been through. Oh, it's so difficult. Oh, I remember how it was for me. Those just are not conducive to helping somebody not feel fearful around labor. Culture in and of itself has already built a lot of fear around labor in this country. And so I don't think we need to do anything more to these mamas by telling them more negative birth stories. Unless, and I say this, there's a caveat here, unless it's got context around it. Or you say something like, I would love to share my birth story with you in terms of what happened to me and some things that I wish I'd known before going into labor in hopes that it helps you. For example, this is how I ended up in an emergency C-section. I wish I'd taken a childbirth education class. I wish I'd gotten a doula, or I should have considered doing a little bit more research before going in, or doing a little bit more prep work. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. That is totally something that is helpful to share, especially with a first-time mom. But what's not helpful to share with a first-time mom is all these off-the-cuff remarks about how horrible they should expect labor to be and things like that. And this is often where people go. And I was in my first postpartum collab video with Christina over at postpartum depression support. I'll share the link to that below. We were talking about negative birth stories, and we were talking about the importance of sharing your birth story, and how maybe the reason some people have negative birth stories is because they never had a chance to process it. And so I highly recommend, if you do have an experience or anything surrounding your birth that is difficult, then to definitely process that afterwards in the right setting. I'm not sure that the right setting to process that is with a first-time mom who's expecting and doesn't know what she's going into, right? So that's my number 1 tip on what not to share with pregnant women. Number 2, commenting about how big she is and her size. For example, oh, are you having twins? When's your due date? You look like you're going to pop tomorrow. I mean, y'all, we should do better. We can do better. I think, honestly, I laugh. I laugh when I hear these because I feel like a part of me is like, maybe this is only in New York because that's where I live and people are bold. But I don't know. Maybe y'all experience this. Let me know down in the comments. People often say like, oh, you're huge. Like, it's so discouraging, guys. We know we're huge. We know we're big. We know we're growing. And yes, it's exciting. We're excited to have our babies, but our bodies go through a lot of changes and we have a lot of hormones running through our bodies. And emotionally speaking, it's just more encouraging to say something like, hey, wow, you look beautiful. You're glowing. Your baby bump is adorable. Like, you know, there are other ways that you can compliment them, but saying they're just huge is like not a compliment. It's so interesting to me that when women are pregnant, people feel like it's okay to all of a sudden start commenting on their bodies openly to them and just like outwardly just commenting on how they look. It's kind of tasteless, y'all. I just think that we could just be kinder to pregnant women, and just not comment on their bodies in that way. Except to say that they're beautiful, they're glowing, and they look like they're carrying well, and all of those beautiful, nice, encouraging things. Okay, that's my advice on that one. Number 3, and this one may be a little bit controversial. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about it. Due dates. Asking about due dates. This can put a lot of pressure on a mom, especially if all of a sudden you're like, oh, she's due on said date, and then all of a sudden baby's not here yet, and people start hitting you up like, hey, have you had the baby yet? How are you doing? Have you had the baby yet? Have you had the baby yet? Is the baby here yet? Is the baby here yet? Is the baby here yet? Y'all, babies don't come on their due dates. Due dates are guesses. They come between 38 and 42 weeks. That's a 5-week period. Well, 4 weeks, 38, 39, 40, 41. Yeah, that's a 4-week period. Guys, it's a long time. That's a long time. And so let's give moms let's like leave space for that, right? And so you can say, hey, like around when are you due? Like or how far along are you? When you know how far along they are, you can kind of then do the math and say, oh, okay, they're kind of due in December, right? Moms, if you get asked this and you don't feel comfortable just sharing the exact date because you're like, I really don't want people to pressure me about it and start calling me on that date, then just say, oh, I'm due in December, or I'm due in early December. I'm due, I give people the whole month range. I'm due in December. So now you have the whole month of December to think Leslie's going to have her baby during that time at some point, right? So that's my number 3. Number 4 is unsolicited parental advice. Especially for first-time moms. There's enough pressure that first-time moms put on themselves that just around it being the first time, not having experience with it, just being a whole new experience. And so unsolicited parental advice can just add additional stress to that. And so I always say, ask if you can share. And I will just share a tidbit with you guys that I have had to check myself on this as a doula because I know a lot of information. And so when I find out that someone's pregnant, I just want to give them all the information. I'm like, oh, they should know this and they should know that and they should know this and that. And I've had to curb myself. And I thank God for my husband, who also helps to remind me that I need to just bring myself back to remembering, like, wait, this is a person who is experiencing this for the first time, maybe the second time, whatever. But either way, this is a person who I need to be conscientious of, that they may not want my opinion. They may not want my knowledge. They may not want it. And therefore, I shouldn't be just giving it to them without asking them. And so I often will say, hey, if you have any questions, like, hey, just so you know, I'm a childbirth doula, or just like a reminder, or I know a lot about birth. If you have any questions about anything at any time, like, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm here if you need me. Or, hey, if you're trying to figure out, like, oh, hey, you're working on your registry, let me know. I have let me know if you'd like some help on like minimal like lists. I have a couple that I'm happy to share. Or, hey, if you have any questions about sleep training, I have this great program that I used. My baby sleeps 12 hours a night. If you're interested, I'd be happy to share that, right? And then you've put the ball in their court for them to decide what to do with it, as opposed to just brain dumping and giving them all this information that they didn't ask for that then overwhelms them. I have made the mistake of doing that before too. And so to those people, I'm sorry. But I've learned. And so I myself went through, when it was my first time of being a parent, still getting unsolicited advice, mostly from family, as is probably the case for most people. But family, remember, you were once a first-time parent, and probably the most frustrating thing was everybody's advice that you hadn't asked for, that could really stress you out. And so let's just be conscientious and always just ask. And tip number 5 of things that you shouldn't tell a pregnant woman or ask or just hold off on, and this one may be a little bit controversial too, is baby's name. Why? Because you then follow it up by giving your opinion about it. By, oh, okay, or, oh, that's a great name, but your face says something else. It then opens up a can of worms where you can share your opinion and everybody else can share their opinion about the baby, and the baby hasn't even been born yet. And so unless it's offered information, I would just not ask. That's just what I default to, just to respect people's privacy and respect it. Someone asked me what our child's name was. They're like, oh, do you have a name yet? And I said, yes. And I left it at that. And they were like, oh, and I was like, we're not sharing. We're going to wait until she's born. Right. And so, and that's just a decision that my husband and I have made. We around the names of our child, we just don't share them till they're born. And so, but maybe that's just me. I know a couple other parents that are like that, but I also know other parents who share their child's name and it's already determined and everybody already knows which one's which. And it's kind of like, these are the names and everyone's just on board. And that's great too. So let me know, moms, or any of these things that you're just like, okay, I agree with this one, don't agree with that one. Let me know down in the comments. If you liked this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, comment, share it with a friend. And if you are interested in some of that advice that I have to share, go ahead and check out my e-course. It is now currently on sale for $75. I will leave the link to that down below. It is limited time, available at this discounted price, as well as checking out my collaboration with Christina over at Postpartum Depression Support. I will leave the link to that here because we talk more things postpartum. And that's it for this one. I will see you in the next one. Thanks so much for tuning in. God bless you. Bye.